I'm a member of COBA, Central Oklahoma Beekeepers Association, and we saw an explosion in membership this year. A lot of people have really started getting involved. They're seeing that what's going on nationwide, specifically here in Oklahoma. I believe we're in the top 8 hardest hit nationwide in bee loss population. We've gotten more and more, we have a lot of beekeepers. With the COBA, one thing you'll find is that even though we're membership based, we still want people to come out. You don't have to be a member to come to our meetings. We want to educate people. Our biggest goal is to educate people. And I think we've got several hundred members here in Oklahoma City alone. There's definitely been an explosion here in the last year or so of interest in beekeeping.
We're actually very bee dependent in America, and most people don't know this. I do some work out in Bakersfield, California, where they have a lot of almond trees. And the way the almond crops are so successful is they literally have truckloads of beehives delivered to the almond farms. And the almond farms are successful in California because they actually get bees delivered. There's truck drivers who have a little route that they go around. They do apple trees in Washington, almond trees in Bakersfield, and they have a little circular route, and they deliver beehives. And a huge part of our food production comes from these truckloads of traveling beehives.
Well, there's several advantages to actually having the bees on the roof. One of them, of course, would be predators. Skunks love beehives. If they find a hive, they will literally sit outside of the hive and scratch on the entrance, wait for bees to come out and eat them. One of the ways we get around that is we raise the hive up off the ground about 18 inches. It exposes their underbelly and they get stung. But by putting them up on a rooftop, you don't have to worry about people finding them and children trying to destroy them because, oh, it's cool, look at all the bees. Predators are less. The other thing too, bees have this thing to where, okay, so let's say the beehive is about 15 foot off the ground. They will actually fly at about that elevation to wherever they need to go to get to the flower, and by doing that, people don't see them. They're out of people's, out of sight, out of mind. There's less likelihood of them interacting with people right near the beehive. The other thing too is by having them up on the roof and in full sunlight, it helps control hive beetle population. The hive beetles don't like sunlight. It also increases the inside temperature of the hive, which the hive beetles can't stand. So there's a lot of advantages for the beekeeper itself, but also for the people around it, is they don't interact with the hive as much. They don't see the bees.
How the bees probably, I think 50% more in terms of the production. With the strawberries, I notice it, I think, the most, just in terms of they're always on the strawberry blooms. But the apple trees and, things, I know we're getting 30 to 50% more. It has to be at least that. Wouldn't you say, honey?
Our current hive is not our first one. We had a hive a few years ago that was here for about 2 years. And particularly the second year, when the bees were here in the early spring, apple tree production doubled. Just right away. And we have an old apple tree out back, and all of a sudden it had twice as many apples than it ever had before. And the strawberries were the same way. The early flowering vegetables, the bees had a big impact, and it was right away too. So we lost that hive. The bees left us for other reasons, but we're real excited to have another hive, because in the early spring, when everything's just blooming and starting to set their blooms, is when it has a really big impact on your food production. One hive can make a big difference, even in a small farm like this one.